So welcome back to this plenary session. And the last remaining point is for us to agree with a document. Because for the people outside the Bureau, it is the first time to see it, although I read the substantive part of it, but this paper starts with more factual elements. So let me explain one by one. The paragraph 1 refers to the fact that this meeting was held. So nothing special. So this is a factual statement. The same applies to paragraph 2. This is simply a statement of a fact. And then paragraph 3, the working group appreciates the experts. And again, I don't think there's anything contentious in this paragraph, paragraph 3. And then paragraph 4, as you can see, well, again, this is a factual statement, but okay, can I move on to paragraph 5? Again, here we simply affirm our principle. Any views on paragraph 5? Okay, let me move to paragraph 6. From here, I read the elements earlier in the plenary session. So first of all, paragraph 6.1, the chapeau part, it says we will maintain all criteria for the representative list and also safeguarding list. But we will maintain those things, but we will, sorry, Austria, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm just thinking when I read that in paragraph 6, paragraph 1, sorry, what was it now? So yes, paragraph 1A, the compatibility of the element with international human rights instrument. That's perfectly fine, but maybe I was just checking it with the convention text, and it's perfectly fine. I'm sorry for that. It's exactly how Article 2 is worded. Many thanks for this. Sorry.
Yes, thank you very much to talk about that, because this was not included in what I read earlier, but there was a suggestion from Portugal, and then the suggestion from Portugal are actually combined in two places. This is one of them, reference to the human rights element. And another thing will be coming at the later stage. But anyway, yes, this is an addition. And then moving on to subparagraph B, this is exactly what I read earlier. Yes, Colombia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just that I fully support just to inquire about the reference. Well, no, I take off my intervention. Sorry, because if we say sustainable development is not necessarily related to 2030 agenda, right? Which was the problem raised by the secretary. I understand it properly, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yes.
Sorry for the interruption. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we have Austria to be followed by Cuba. Austria, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just wondered whether we could have the text reflect a bit more the convention is worded and not say how the element contributes to the principles, because I don't know what the principles of sustainable development are. Just contributes to sustainable development would be, I think, fully in line with Article 2 of the convention. So can we strike out, please, to the principles and just leave contributes to sustainable development?
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador. Now, Ambassador of Cuba, please.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. J'ai une précision concernant, je ne voudrais pas retourner parce que je suis sûre que vous êtes en train d'avancer sur le paragraphe 6, mais je voudrais savoir si après je peux revenir sur le paragraphe 5 parce que j'ai un doute concernant à la référence de la participation dans tous les mécanismes d'inscription. Je ne sais pas si sera meilleur les processus d'inscription ou les mécanismes. C'est seulement un doute, mais avant de continuer d'avancer pour le reste des paragraphes, je voudrais préciser que j'ai quelques doutes, mais je peux revenir un peu plus. Vous pouvez continuer sur le paragraphe 6, mais c'est un doute que j'ai sur le paragraphe 5. Merci.
Yeah, maybe we can just go back to paragraph 5 to settle the differences. Okay, sorry, Ambassador, which is the point that you wanted to raise?
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président, pour votre compréhension. C'est justement parce que mon doute, c'est quand on dit qu'on va assurer la participation les plus active dans toutes les étapes des mécanismes d'inscription, et ça inclut les évaluations de l'organe d'évaluation, non? Et je ne sais pas comme les communautés, il va participer de ces mécanismes d'inscription. Peut-être le secrétariat, M. Curtis, il peut m'expliquer pour mieux comprendre, mais ce n'est pas les étapes des processus d'inscription que faire la référence directement sur les mécanismes d'inscription qui inclut l'évaluation de l'organe d'évaluation, que normalement, il n'y a pas de relation directe avec la communauté ni les États membres. Merci.
Yeah, Tim, please.
Merci. Je vois en fait qu'il y a une légère mal-traduction entre l'anglais et le français. Et là, c'est les mécanismes de liste en anglais qui a été... Donc, c'est les mécanismes de liste d'abord et pas d'inscription qu'il faudrait. Les mécanismes... Oui, ou les mécanismes relatifs aux listes. Parce que ce n'est pas uniquement l'inscription. Hein. Mais... Après, peut-être la question concerne toutes les étapes, mais en tout cas, l'anglais qui a été rédigé en anglais, ce n'était pas que l'inscription, c'est les listes. Après, voilà, c'est la précision que je donne.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, et Tim Curtis aussi.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to 6 and then go down. And can you go a little bit further? Yes, can we stop there? Okay, subparagraphs B, C, D, E is another part relative to the points raised by Portugal. So the simplification of forms for all criteria were actually mentioned. So, okay, so Austria, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I apologize for taking the floor again because I forgot to also just ask or or suggest that we amend the text in subparagraph B to also reflect Article 2 more in a more precise way, because when we say encouraging mutual respect and dialogue, we mean by way of Article 2 of the Convention, among communities, groups, and individuals. And either it is very clear that this is our understanding, and it will be mentioned in the text that we are going to work on in September, or we put it here to make sure that we are really in line with Article 2. So if that's possible, and with your indulgence, I would suggest that we amend the text so as to read mutual respect and dialogue among communities, groups, and individuals. So it perfectly goes in line with Article 2 of the Convention. Thank you so much.
Okay, Ambassador
Among,
Claudia.
not amongst. Among is perfectly fine, not amongst. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other views? Okay, Poland, please.
Just to stick to the wording of the convention, among communities, groups, and where applicable, individuals, as this is the wording of the convention. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Any other views? Now, can I draw attention to subparagraph 2? Sorry? Subparagraph 2, to amend the criteria for the register of good safeguarding practices, and then criterion P9 should be deleted.
Long debate on, if I could just go back to what Poland said, unless I have the wrong text, but the text that I'm reading doesn't say and where applicable. Could I ask the secretary to just ascertain what the text actually really, Article 2, how it really reads, because I don't have that and where applicable.
Oh, sorry, you are correct. Under Article 2, the where applicable does not apply. In other parts, it does say where applicable. One could assume that mutual respect should be done for all individuals, communities, and groups. In this, you're right. The language of Article 2 does not have where applicable. Thank you.
I would prefer us not to redraft the convention. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Would that be okay with Poland? Yeah, Poland, please.
Yeah, thank you, Austria, also for the decision. Yes, indeed, we are not redrafting this text, but what we meant here, and there was a discussion previously also that not all, but in some cases, individuals who are part of the whole ICH system. So exactly.
Sorry to come in, but you know, we don't have good connection with you now.
And
can
this
you
has been repeated throughout. Is it better now?
Yeah, it probably is. Yes, please go ahead.
I'm very sorry for prolonging. Indeed, Austria is right. Where applicable is not in the text of the convention. Article 1 says, in some cases, individuals. So if you want to be precise, and we want to underline that not all individuals, but those engaged in this ICH and recognized as ICH bearers, then we should use in some cases. Thank you.
I would, it's mentioned twice. So the mutual respect, I'm looking at Article 1, at the bottom part it says under individuals, but indeed in the beginning it says in some cases individuals. I'm not sure this is redrafting the convention. This is just trying to move forward. I have no opinion either way. Thank you.
Okay, Austria, please.
Thank you very much. Well, I do have a quite strong opinion on this. The text in Article 2, where it says in some cases, refers to the definition of intangible. We are talking here about the specific requirements of respect among and dialogue among communities. And that's where the text is very clear in Article 2, this last sentence, as well as with the requirements of mutual respect among communities, groups, and individuals, and of sustainable development. And I would really, really, really would very much plead that we stick scrupulously to the text and not start by way of this text, redraft the convention. That's for us, Austria, an absolute red line. I'm sorry.
Okay, in that case, can I go back to Poland? I don't want to prolong discussions, but nonetheless, I think the consent from Poland is necessary. So can I go back to Poland?
We are fully in compliance and we agree. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your understanding. Okay, now, is there any delegation who has an issue about the subparagraphs B, C, D, E, and subparagraph 2A? I don't see any hand raised. So can I take it to mean that this part is okay? Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to paragraph 7. This is about the follow-up. Okay, Colombia? Okay, sorry. By the way, I actually read A, B, and C earlier, but I didn't read D because no, this question of Article 18 has been brought to this area because we see there was a convergence of view on the need to deal with Article 18. So it's brought up. It's brought up here. Any views? Okay, Colombia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and sorry about earlier. I thought my hand's still up. Then I clicked and it was up instead of down. Just, and I don't want to open the debate, but I think that in case of B, that reinforce the monitoring, well, so that no element will remain on the urgent safeguarding list indefinitely. I don't believe that it is necessary about thing to be in the urgent safeguarding list. I think it's enough to have the option because, as we discussed, it's good for that list to be dynamic. Some of the elements wouldn't need urgent safeguarding, but there are some that are just in need of safeguarding. And as I say yesterday, in cases that are only a few bearers left, or like in some extreme cases. So I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the argument shouldn't be that we don't want an element to be indefinitely in the urgent safeguarding list. So I think it's very important to reinforce the monitoring system, to give the option of changing, but the aim shouldn't be not to have an urgent safeguarding list.
Okay, thank you very much. So are you proposing to delete from so that to the end?
Yes.
Okay, thank you
Yes,
very
Mr.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Which
And
could be changed to make the safeguarding list a tool for improving the safeguarding of the element or something like that. I could seek some wording if I may.
No, in this particular case, deletion makes perfect sense. This particular formulation is there because we are talking about the time limitations for the for this safeguarding list. That is why this one is there. But if the room wants to delete it, that's also fine. You don't need to find an alternative formulation for that one. Now, Venezuela to be followed by Egypt. Venezuela, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll be brief. I just want to support what the distinguished delegate from Colombia expressed. I think it would be best to strike out the last part of the paragraph, as evidently we do not want any element to be in the urgent safeguard list indefinitely. However, well, there are many challenges that are that can cause that an element is there for a while and everything. So it would be best to just strike out the final part. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Egypt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'm supporting what Colombia proposed to delete this, because I think, as I mentioned before, it's despite following up the element is important, but I think threatened for the element to be listed and is not an option. It's not up to the communities to implement the safeguarding measures, because lack of many things in some communities, so it shouldn't be threatened by any means. Thank you.
Okay, in that case, can I just propose to delete so that no element and then towards the end? Would that meet the expectations of the room? Okay, I have to remind the room that, there's a hand raised by one esteemed expert, but he's not necessarily in the decision-making process in the room, but nonetheless, his views are well appreciated. So, Mr. Jacobs, you have the floor.
Yes, just I don't think it's a good idea to put D under point 7, which is specifically about inscribed elements. It would be limiting the scope of point D. So I don't think it's in the right place. So just to remind, or as a remark, I'm not sure if the connection between Article 18 and follow-up with inscribed elements is really what you mean.
Yeah, okay. On that specific point, before going to Barbados, can I just give the floor to Mr. Secretary?
Yes, I understand, and indeed, it's not a follow-up of an inscribed element, it's a whole new reflection. So in the text, you're right, it's beyond a follow-up of, this is the last thing because we moved it up from September, so it could become a point 9 before point 10. So maybe, if I think Mr. Jacobs is correct, because we've just added this one now. If we were to take, if I may, Mr. Chairperson, initiate a reflection and move down below 8, and then before paragraph 9, we add a new paragraph, and this now becomes a new paragraph, which is initiate, it's not a sub-paragraph, it's a paragraph on its own. Just give a minute, yeah. We're just formatting, but this will become a new paragraph 9, and the old paragraph 9 will become a paragraph 10. And I think that might address, and indeed I appreciate that because we were in a rush during the Bureau, we added it there. But indeed, this is not necessarily a follow-up of an inscribed element.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your very good advice, Mr. Jacobs. Can I now give the floor to Barbados, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. I just wanted to briefly give support to Colombia and the other colleagues for the change at B to just delete from so that down to the indefinitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your suggestion is taken. Okay, with this suggestion, with those amendments, is paragraph 7 okay for the room? Okay, thank you very much. Let me now move on to paragraph 8, methodology for the evaluation. Any views? Colombia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me yet again the floor. As I expressed before, that simplification for the multinational nominations, it can be, as we say in Spanish, a double-edged weapon. But well, I just wanted to highlight it, but it's okay if it's kept, as I said before, only in the procedure, which is quite clear, but not that much in my point of view of the writing. But I'm very flexible, so just to bear in mind. And I repeat, because of the importance of the implementation of the safeguarding that every country has to have within their country, and not is not. It can be necessarily equitable from one. The measures of safeguarding is not necessarily equitable for one country to another. But then again, I'm super flexible. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate your flexibility, but nonetheless, I want to give the floor to Tim for clarification.
Yeah, if I may, I think I understand the question. And I think, in fact, what is being sought here is precisely to avoid every country having to have the same measures. And indeed, every submitting country having to resubmit and align. But what the experts all agreed was what is important is that the communities who were in the original submission understand and agree to the extension to another community and agree to work with them. But this is not a question of aligning a one measure for all countries. And in fact, if anything, it's going in the other direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we give the floor to Japan.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not to change the text, but I wanted to note one intervention that we did before on the national files, because we think that there is also extension in the national file, not multinational, but other communities, which comes up in the national files after the inscription of a national file. So for us, it would be great if we could say for the extent of multinational and national nominations, but if it's, I know that we haven't debated it extensively here, so I don't insist on changing the text, but I just wanted to note the comment that we hope that in the future, the national nominations process to include new communities which were not there during the inscription would be make it easier in a later stage. Thank you for the time. Sure.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Because I come from Japan, I know why this is an issue. We have all sorts of local dances, and we inscribe, for example, 10 dances, but there are some more local dances which have more or less the same degree of value. Yes, but the fact still remains that we have not really discussed it. So Tim, is there any suggestion to make?
I think this could be reflected in the paragraph, new paragraph 11 for possible discussion in September, bearing in mind that this has been agreed for multinationals, and then the discussion could happen in September. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Madam Cummins.
Thank you, Chair, and please forgive me for intruding at this point, but I'm a little bit concerned about the placement of your paragraph B under 8B, in that the original proposal was not intended to be confined within, as I quote, the methodology for evaluation of nominations. So I just would suggest that it needs to be placed perhaps elsewhere because it was meant to be broadly applicable. Thank you.
Yes, I understand. You know, this particular issue was raised when we talked about the methodology, but nonetheless, this is applicable to all. So shall we create an independent paragraph just like new 9? Maybe after new 9, or maybe even before new 9. This can be a new 9. Yeah, and the current 9, Article 18 becomes 10. Yes, sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much again for your constructive suggestions. Anybody else? So A is now a very lonely paragraph with only one item left. Yeah, it is okay. You know, I have sympathies to paragraph 8. Okay, anyway, in terms of substance, it's okay. We have paragraph 8, 9, 10 as shown on the screen. Any comments? Okay, thank you very much. Let me now move on to paragraph 11, where we have items for discussion in September. But there are more to come. So let's go one by one. Okay, the remaining items for discussion in September. The first one, as you can see, the language issue for discussions. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got it wrong. There was a change in number. Yes, that's right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we are still in the world where there was a convergence of views. Sorry for that. So paragraph 11. Any comments? No hand has been raised. Can I take it to mean that you don't have problems with paragraph 11? Yes, Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a suggestion, you know, in part B for 11, the use of audio visual, I think, you know, we should not limit ourselves to audio visual. We might use, you know, some more general term, the use of technology or technological tools. We don't want to limit ourselves just audio and, you know, and visuals. With the time might advance. Just a suggestion. I'm flexible with the text. I just want to make sure we have something that lasts for a long time, not just have audio visual. We might come some other mean of tools. So more generic terms, technological tools, any like broader terms. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Modern technological tools. I don't have any strong feeling. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Any suggestions?
Would it work if we said the use of technology such as audiovisual tools?
Perfect.
The use of technology such as audiovisual tools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any views? Venezuela, please.
Thank you very much. Just considering the possibilities that some might have, the difficulties on this, perhaps, although we will go with consensus, perhaps at the end, include something as like when possible or whenever possible. Since we know that there are communities in which the access to technology or the relationship with technology is somewhat limited or affected. So that's just a matter of considering this, so just including whenever possible. But again, we can withdraw it if there is not taken accepted by the floor. Thank you.
Okay, your suggestion may be technology such as audiovisual tools where applicable, where appropriate, where possible. Adding something like that there is pretty a suggestion from Venezuela. And any views? Yeah. Okay. Well, with the same premise that I mentioned earlier, I wish to give the floor to the IHC NGO Forum. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is Laurie Turgeon. I'm the secretary of the ICH NGO Forum. I was simply going to suggest to contribute to the discussion that maybe we specify digital technology, because technology seems quite general and vague to me, and perhaps it would be more appropriate to use the word digital technology.
Okay, Tim, please.
I think just bearing in mind also the intervention by Venezuela, that there are tools that may not yet be digital. By using technology, we don't limit it to digital. This does not exclude digital technology, but maybe photos. There can be all sorts of technologies and audiovisual tools, and they may be high-end digital tools, but they may be photos taken by cameras and printed out and sent. Who knows? So I'm just worried that it's limiting it by putting the word digital. It doesn't exclude it by using technology, but we don't limit it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for both contributions. Kuwait, please, Ambassador Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just matter of procedure, I just want to make sure, when we add and change, is it on member states or also NGOs, allowed? I don't want anyone to come back to us and saying, some other, beside member states, change the text. So, it's a matter of procedure, only member states can change and amend the text or also NGOs. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, on that particular matter, I have heard some experts, their contributions were very, very good. In fact, as a result of their contributions, we created independent paragraphs. So it's absolutely fine to listen to the experts, NGOs, but decision makers are the member states. That has to be very clear. In fact, earlier when I gave the floor to experts, I said that. But I didn't repeat the same point in this particular case. But yes, you're right. But at the same time, there's always a value in listening to people with expertise, and that's why I gave the floor to them. But anyway, in terms of procedure, Ambassador Adam, what you're saying is right. Okay, on that understanding, where possible, proposed by Venezuela has not met any opposition. So with the inclusion of that phrase, can we agree on this paragraph, subparagraph B? Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to another world of pending items. So as I said earlier in the plenary, if we don't have an item there, it is assumed that that particular item will not be discussed in September. In other ways, that particular item is dead, to put it bluntly. Okay, with that understanding, okay, in inscription criteria, we have A and B. I have already read them out earlier in the plenary, but do you have any suggestions or problems? Okay, Poland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure this the sentence is clear. Pending a broader discussion on the implementation, redundant criteria could also be deleted. Somehow we may maybe reformulate it to make the message in this point more clear.
Yeah, well, I don't have any problem with your suggestion, but do you have anything to propose?
Just trying to figure out now. Maybe it is not only about the deletion, but also reformulation. And it is not limited to only to the redundancy of criteria, but the whole repositioning of the register. So I'm not sure if we should even mention here the redundant criteria that shall be deleted, because it is a more broader topic that is to be discussed. But I'm fine if we decide at this point to leave it as it is in order to save time.
Okay, Tim, suggestions?
Yeah, I think the point here is that it will be discussed in September. Maybe it's the word redundant that is problematic. And I think deletion of criteria other than criterion P9, maybe Fumiko can help here. Fumiko, why don't you propose what you were saying?
I try something like deletion of redundant criteria other than criterion P9 under the register of good safeguarding practices, pending a broader discussion on the implementation of Article 18 of the Convention. And perhaps we don't need redundant in light of the intervention from Poland. I asked the Barco colleague to follow me. Deletion of criteria, deletion or reformulation of criteria. Thank you.
Okay. Does that make things better?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
And Venezuela, please.
Thank you, Chair. We can go along with thank Poland for their amendments. I raised my hand, I think, a little bit too early. We have a comment regarding para B. We can make it now if you, the Chair, prefers, or we can wait till you move on to para B and then make our observation then.
Okay, thank you very much. Please wait for 10 seconds. Can I understand, because there's nobody raising hand at this moment on A. So can I take to mean that we are okay with subparagraph A? Okay, thank you very much. Now the floor is yours, Venezuela.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's just, I think we would prefer, instead of lowering the priority, it feels this would be prejudging the discussion or the measures that we can come from the discussion that takes place. Perhaps revising the priority of reviewing or changing or evaluating changes in the priority for the examination, instead of just going straight forward and saying lowering the priority, as we have not yet agreed if this is the matter moving forward on how we want to promote the presentation of reports, and so maybe I think it would be just a better language to find something a little bit more neutral. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point was raised by Portugal earlier in this afternoon. And also I remember that Sweden did mention this in the discussions before that. So can I get views from either Portugal or Sweden on this matter? Okay, Portugal to be followed by Sweden. Portugal first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Indeed, I mean, there is a discussion still to be done on this. So we would have no problem in slightly rephrasing it. But indeed, I mean, this was a suggestion presented to us in the working group document number 3, as it is written indeed, but we would have no problem in, instead of lowering, considering or considering the possibility of revising the priority for something like that. But others would do it better than I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sweden, please. Excuse me, you're still muted, I believe. Can you try to speak now?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, could you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Sorry for this. Yes, we agree with Portugal. This was a suggestion from the experts, and this was the phrasing I think was featured in the document, since the goal would be of some sort of change to see how we can use these measures to lighten the load a bit for the Secretariat and evaluation body, but we would be open for a slight change in the wording in order to move our discussions along. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. In that case, the simplest way is to replace the word lowering by revising, reviewing or revising. Okay, revising the priority. Well, this is for discussions, so, you know, nothing has been agreed or decided on. So revising the priority, would that meet the expectation of the room? Okay, I see no hand raised, so can I assume that this paragraph, subparagraph B is okay now? Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to paragraph C and also D. I read those subparagraphs earlier in the plenary session, and subparagraph C corresponds, the Roman 1 to 3, they correspond to previous CDE among the 5 points for community engagement. And then this paragraph D specifies some issues in relation to arm's length online platform. I don't see any hand raised. In the interest of time, can I move on to the paragraphs after that? C and D will stay as they are, and let us move to E, F, E and F. Any views? Can I take the silence to mean that F, E and F are okay? Oh, sorry, Colombia.
Just a question, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Is the F quite similar to one paragraph that we agreed already, that we adopted already, if I'm not wrong? I mean, because if it's too similar.
Okay, Mr. Curtis.
Just to explain, I don't think this has been repeated. This has been mentioned before. I think there was, if as the chair expressed, the room seemed to agree on the need for simplified procedures.
Yeah.
But we have not yet worked out the details of what that actually means, those procedures, and that they be discussed in September. So I don't believe it's redundant unless you can point out specifically which paragraph.
Colombia?
Yes, I think it was on the list, but maybe it's in my head that it's similar, but if the secretary said it's not, it's okay. Thank you. It was just for clarification, so it's okay.
Okay, Mr. Curtis.
Indeed, now I understand. 7C says facilitate the transfer as a concrete recommendation. And I think we've brought it back here because there still needs to be work done in September on what exactly those procedures were. So maybe if we go down to the later one, it could be, if we may go down to the facilitate the transfer has already been included as part of the agreements of this meeting. Propose specific procedures. Now that's a different, so that follows on. So propose specific, we should maybe add the word propose, just to make it clear that we're now proposing specific procedures. Oh, no, sorry, back. Propose simplified procedures to paragraph F. So that it's more concrete, but following on from what I thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is that okay for Colombia? Okay, thank you very much. Any other views? Okay, let's move on. In that case, E and F should be okay, and then we will move into the methodology part. Sorry. Okay, now we are in the methodology part. And, suggestion from Ambassador of Kuwait is included in H. Well, if you have no problems with the language there, I want to take care of a suggestion from my own country. But before that, G and H, do you have any comments? Okay, Colombia to be followed by Poland. Colombia, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's about the age. I think that I would like to maybe propose another wording because the discussions are about reconsidering the composition, but not necessarily to reconsider the composition. So I think the discussion, it could be, if somebody can help me with the English, but I think, well, or Colombia wouldn't agree to reconsider the composition of the working methods. We would agree to discuss a possible change in the composition, but we don't necessarily agree. And my dear Ambassador of Kuwait, I'm sorry, but we need a little more to work on that proposal. So I don't know if we could change the wording at the beginning.
Yes, thank you very much for the comment. Well, I will give that to the floor to Poland to be followed by Sweden. But can I also encourage Ambassador Adam to come in at some stage? With that, Poland to be followed by Sweden. Poland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Taking into account the previous, my colleague from Colombia, maybe we can try to think about discussing the composition and the working methods of the evaluation body. And somehow, again, I also need a help with my English to reflect that the idea was not general, but was precisely focused on using regional groups. And I think that will bring more clear message to those who will read this document and who didn't participate in the meeting, because this is a very general statement as we have it now. So maybe by bringing this regional dimension, if the distinguished ambassador of Kuwait will agree, is a good idea. Thank you.
Okay, Sweden to be followed by China. Sweden, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Very short, just to support our colleague from Colombia here and also from Poland. We believe that this is a bit different from what we discussed, also since this was a completely new discussion that at least I didn't see it very clearly in the experts' discussions. So that's why we would like to be a bit more hesitant here, even though we see some value on discussing everything in this process. But just eager to see what the ambassador of Kuwait has to say. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. China to be followed by Kuwait. China, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. Actually, I would like to suggest that since my delegation did make a very specific proposal regarding the methodology of the evaluation of nominations, we would kindly request to reflect our proposal in this part of the recommendation. So either to be incorporated in paragraph H or in a separate paragraph, so would likely to be duly reflected. And also, I will also take this opportunity to just go a little back to paragraph F, which we have just. I'm sorry, I have to go a little back because I have a little question about the word revitalized. Because I believe that according to the criteria of the urgent safeguarding list, the element in urgent need of safeguarding, just because its viability is at risk. So it's not a revitalization, it's just because of the viability is in danger. So maybe we can considering changing the wording of revitalized into like improved viability or something. Maybe the secretary may help me with that. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm hearing from the Secretariat. Okay, let's sort out the issue. First of all, I think there was a suggestion from China. As I remember, this was related, first one was related to the international assistance. The second one was related to 2 files in 3 cycles. And do you mean the latter one to be included here? This is just for clarification, China.
I would like to have the both of them to be reflected, if you may allow, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and on the second point of revitalization in F, what's the language that you're talking about?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I mentioned the wording of viability.
Okay, viability. Yeah, okay, Tim, please.
Yeah, I think indeed it would be more consistent to talk about successfully improve the viability of elements. That would be more consistent with it, if I may say so. And now we have 2 other points, and indeed, plus the point from Kuwait. One is about the 3 files per cycle, and one is about moving all international assistance requests to the Bureau. But all these 3 points are now points on the number of files, if I may. So maybe this is now number of files, because this is no longer just methodology for the evaluation of nominations, but if I understand correctly, it concerns the number of files to be treated. And these are proposals to increase access or improve the file limitation, which was a background issue to the expert work meeting, was not put as a forefront of the expert meeting. So perhaps this is no longer just methodology for evaluation of the things, but considering the number of files. We could, in that sense, and in order to save a bit of time, we could have something to have a discussion on addressing the number of files, including looking at the composition of the evaluation body, the moving of international assistance to the Bureau, and the possibility of at least 2 files per 3 years with an alternation between register of, it's a bit late, between representative list and alternatively either the register or the USL. If I'm correct, those are the 3 elements that we are now hearing. Now we have to get into formulation, but that should appear in September.
Yes, that's fine as a matter of principle, but we need something there.
Yeah, so may I suggest this, that the issue that we have now a new subparagraph, okay? The number of files per cycle, or something to do with the number of, you see where instead of putting it under methodology for the evaluation, a new subheading, number of files per cycle. If you may, just so that we can address these and we keep, instead of trying to fit it, because it's now coming up as a new area. First, we can talk about, we can move H with whatever revision to the language the floor wishes to make. We now move it under the number of files per cycle. Improving the number of files per cycle or something. And then we go to a new subparagraph. And it's again late on Friday afternoon. Allow me to just express as I may have heard it, and it may need some work. A second paragraph. Consider the possibility of examining 2 files per state every 3 years with an alternate, or how are you going to say, alterning between, just alterning, this is going to have to be improved, but alterning between a representative list nomination and a USL or register, I'm saying the short, and an urgent safeguarding list / or register of good safeguarding practices nomination. I believe that was what China proposed. And then finally, there was another proposal from China. Yeah. Consider delegating, consider moving all international resistance requests to the Bureau. Okay? This can now become a new sub-item dealing with the number of files. And I'm sure the wording is not perfect, but I'm just trying to get the structure here to allow it now to make sense. And this is sort of not something that was discussed by the experts, but this is now coming from the working group.
Yes, indeed. Well, in that case, I would like to make sure the proposal from Japan is also there. Yes. Okay, can you do it now? Because we have all those proposals now.
So again, we also had a proposal from Japan, but I think the proposal from Japan does come under the methodology for the evaluation of nominations. It's not really about the number of files. And if I understand the proposal of Japan is to apply the same simplified process for extension to new communities of a national nomination that we have seen recommended for multinational nominations. So it's to simplify, if you will, the process of extending a nomination at a national level. And this is, again, some preliminary language just done on the spot to see if this might have, and this will have to be discussed more in September. Consider the possibility, can you put it up? Yeah. Sorry, yeah, okay. The possibility of simplifying the extension of national files to include more communities in a similar manner to that which is proposed, for multinational files. So these are the 3 new paragraphs coming up.
Well, do we need a subtitle? Because, methodology part will end after H. The reconsider the composition, it's not necessarily methodology, right?
No, now we have a new subtitle and number of files per cycle. Maybe it's not clear. The number of files, could I ask the barcode to please move the number of files per cycle away from that paragraph so that it's clear it's a new subtitle.
Okay, thank you very much. This was done all in a hurry, but nonetheless, thank you for your drafting capabilities. Now, okay, let me go to Kuwait first to be followed by Estonia. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank, our dear representative of Colombia, Sweden, for their concern. Okay, I have a couple, suggestion on the paragraph. Let us start with reconsider adaptability. So you add the word adaptability of the reconsider adaptability added there, please.
All right, can we ask you to repeat, please? Reconsider
adaptability
on the barcode, yeah.
of the composition. Okay, and at the end of the paragraph, can you add at the end of the paragraph, keep in mind geographical representation. I hope that will take care of the concerns of Colombia and Sweden and Poland.
Ambassador Adam, do you still need and the working methods?
Yes. Again, this is discussion for September, you know, this is just to discuss, we know this is not final, I think. We're just, you know, for discussions. And I think, you know, if we make a general at that time, you know, if we see it's not important, you know, I think we don't want to, I mean, it's more generic discussion, you know, at that time. So if it's okay with everyone with that, with this addition.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Estonia to be followed by Cuba. Estonia, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And thank you also to Kuwait for these clarifications. But Estonia would like still to go with a more general signal to the September meeting, but this is something that needs to be discussed further. Because I believe that this proposal was not discussed in a very detailed manner. It was simply proposed as one option. And we should signal it perhaps by saying that the paragraph I propose is to discuss the composition and the working methods of the evaluation body, to consider the possibility to allow for a higher number of files per cycle to be evaluated, keeping in mind geographical representation, because this is not decided yet, that this will be possible or desirable, or that this is the way to go. I think we will start discussing it in September, as it merits more discussion, and there are perhaps also some more avenues to be explored. Thank you. Maybe I could simply repeat.
Yes, please go ahead.
To discuss the composition and the working methods of the evaluation body, to consider the possibility to allow for a higher number of files, and when it goes on. So instead of reconsider, we simply discuss, because reconsidering already implies that this is something that will happen, but our debates are still in a very initial phase. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, after allow for, the same formulation comes. Okay, now it's clear. So Cuba to be followed by Sweden. Cuba, please.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Et je voudrais remercier à l'ambassadeur de Koweït pour son ajout dans les tests. Justement, et pour nous, c'est une préoccupation de garder l'esprit de la représentation géographique au sein de l'organe d'évaluation. Et j'ai un doute concernant quand on parle de la possibilité d'examiner les 2 dossiers par cycle de 3 années. Ça compris aussi les dossiers multinationaux, ou c'est seulement les dossiers nationaux pour la liste représentative. Parce que pour moi, ce n'est complètement clair comment est-ce qu'on va obtenir cet équilibre. Je sais bien que le paragraphe H considère la possibilité de simplifier l'extension des dossiers nationaux afin d'inclure plus de communautés, non, tant que proposé pour les dossiers multinationaux, mais nous avons exprimé la préoccupation de l'équilibre entre le nombre de dossiers nationaux et les dossiers multinationaux. Je ne sais pas comment est-ce qu'il va passer dans ce cycle de 3 années si cette alternance a compris les dossiers multinationaux. Merci.
Okay, so let's go step by step. We have only a bit more than 10 minutes left. So first of all, in relation to what Japan proposed, it's actually H. I haven't heard any opposition to this. So if there's an opposition, please mention that now. Sorry, Sweden, I'll give the floor to you soon. But because we don't have much time left, so I want to fix that I want to set that first. Is there any opposition to that, what Japan proposed? Okay, thank you. Let's settle that first. And then so there are 3 more paragraphs to go. The proposal by Ambassador of Kuwait is very fine, but there are 2 texts going on. And right now, I heard Ambassador Cuba having some issues with the first suggestion from China, 2 files per 3 cycles. Now, can I ask if there's any delegation having any problem with the last suggestion from China, moving all international assistance requests to the Bureau? Because I haven't heard anybody against this idea yet. Is that an issue, Sweden, please?
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. We don't have an issue with the proposal in itself. It's just our concern is that since this is all of these 3 suggestions, they weren't part of the expert suggestions. So we would prefer if we could keep it a bit more more general and to allow for the experts also to further look into this and to help us in how to move forward. So I don't have a language suggestion as of this moment, but maybe the room could help us. But this would be preferable for on our part to generalize it a bit more. Thank you.
Before that, let me give the floor. Okay, thank you very much. I now give the floor to Portugal and Belgium, and after that, we have only 10 more minutes. Please be concise. And after that, I give the floor to the Secretary for suggestion. So, Portugal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a suggestion to make, just to use at the beginning of all these proposals, the formulation, consider the possibility of. I believe that will take care of the concerns expressed. In the case of the composition on the working methods of the evaluation body, where we could read, consider the possibility of revising the composition and working methods, etc. So my suggestion is for all these paragraphs, start with consider the possibility of. Thank you.
Okay, well, this is a construction suggestion. Let's make it on the screen. Consider the possibility of. Yeah, maybe the first one. Yeah, consider the possibility of reviewing the composition. Okay, now we have a formulation shown on the screen. Consider the possibility of reviewing the adaptability, composition, and the working method of the evaluation body. That's a suggestion which stands at this moment, and that probably takes care of the concern expressed by Estonia. And in the same way, in J, we have considered the possibility of considering?
Yeah, no. Where is it? Consider the possibility of no, sorry.
Yeah, examining. Consider the possibility of examining 2 files per every 3 years. Okay, and then the last one, consider the possibility of moving international assistance requests to the Bureau. Okay, by that way, we can show that those are not yet fully discussed with the experts, but these are the proposals for discussion. This is for discussion, not for an agreement today. So don't worry too much about this. Then what about the current formulation? First of all, let's concentrate on the first element, paragraph I. Consider the possibility of reviewing the adaptability, composition, and the working method of the evaluation body to allow for a higher number of files per cycle to be evaluated. So would that be okay for the room? Okay, we have Belgium, Norway, Finland. From now on, because we have 5 minutes to go, can you just be very, very concise? Okay, Belgium, you have floor.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Je reviendrai essentiellement par rapport au point J, et je voulais rebondir sur ce qu'avait dit notre estimé collègue de Cuba, pour ne pas oublier le sort réservé aux dossiers internationaux, pour voir quel sort leur sera réservé, tenant compte que ce type de dossier, encore plus que les dossiers nationaux, prend un temps considérable de préparation, parfois plus de 10 ans entre les États concernés, et qu'il faudrait veiller à ne pas trop les pénaliser par les systèmes mis en place. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, thank you very much. Those are the things that we have to discuss in September. At this moment, this is simply an indication of an item to be discussed in September. With that in mind, Norway to be followed by Finland. Norway, please.
Yes, we would like to support Sweden's proposal here to be more general, actually, because this is a quite new discussion we have drawn up here. So if it could be more general for the discussion in September, that would be, we don't have the wording yet, but maybe we could come up with something. Thank you.
Okay, I understand. Then Finland, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. On the same line, we would prefer a more general paragraph on these proposals because during this first part of the meeting, we discussed, we based our discussions on the proposal of the expert group and on the text that was provided for us. And these proposals here are interesting, but they really came during the first part of this meeting. So perhaps a more general paragraph just around the number of files per cycle could be put here, and perhaps taking into account the discussions we had during the first period of this meeting, but without detailing all this, because I think that many other views also were expressed during this first part. So perhaps this is at this stage perhaps a little bit far-reaching to enumerate all these proposals that still needs further discussions. So these proposals are the elements of the discussion that we will be having in the future. But perhaps in enumerating these things right here, it's perhaps at this stage a little bit premature from our view. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Egypt, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Actually, I was raising my hand for K, not for G. If I'm allowed to say my comment for G, for K, I'm ready now. Thank you.
Okay, let's go one by one. We have spent considerable time on this first item, I. Consider the possibility of reviewing the adaptability, composition, and working methods of the evaluation body to allow for a higher number of files per cycle to be evaluated. Now, well, maybe this is not very general, but nonetheless, we have spent considerable time on this item. Can I, because this is simply for discussions, so can I just suggest that we should take this formulation as it is now? It doesn't harm anybody, but issues are very clear. I see the hand from Egypt, but Egypt is not on this particular thing. Okay, now let's settle one by one, because we really don't have time. Now, I would like to emphasize once again that this is for discussion. Nothing has been agreed or decided. Now, can I try once more that the formulation on the screen at this moment on this element, the evaluation body, I think it's pretty okay for the room because issues are very clear, but nonetheless, as I said, there is no agreement yet. This is for discussion. So can I ask the room if this suggestion is acceptable? Okay, thank you very much. Let's leave this one. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Then now let me move to J. 2 files per every 3 years. There was a point made. No, you don't need it anymore. No. No, not the one. The one up the Portugal. It's yeah. That one is not necessary anymore. Okay. Now J. Yes, that's right. Does anybody help me in trying to generalize in line with what several countries mentioned?
2 funds per state, every 3 years, alternating between a nomination to representative candidates.
Okay, Tim, would you like to help?
Yeah, I think just to help, we will not be ready with specific procedures on the number of files or very specific proposals in September, as I said earlier. The number of files is linked to the evaluation methods and the processes in reality. So I think all of this is important, but that's why the experts didn't decide. So this, I think what is being done here is to discuss the real feasibility of this. First of all, the issues that were discussed by the experts have to be addressed. So I think we may be, if I may say so, jumping the gun a little bit. These can stay here and they can be discussed in September, but we will not have real proposals to be able, we don't have the time or the means at this stage to give concrete proposals on this issue. So this is what I said when it was first put forward.
Must be done.
Sorry, I think, but so I just want to clarify that this will be, these issues I don't think can be finished in September. We still have a lot of issues that were discussed through the experts, and there's no harm keeping them here and to have that discussion in September. I doubt very much that all of this can be finalized in a 2-day meeting in September. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes. Well, we should consider the number of files after we finish with the reform process. But anyway, shall we keep it as it is, on the understanding that this is not going to be okay? Maybe I can see from the faces people are not really in agreement. Okay, let's go to Sweden, Colombia, Poland in that order. But please, we have passed the limit, so please be concise. Poland, sorry, Sweden.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor once again. And I hope you can see me. I would just like to thank the Secretary, also Mr. Curtis, for bringing this once again to our attention, that the experts might, or the Secretariat might not have time to give us, to look into this in further detail. And we of course understand the need for a summer vacation for all of us, but we have a suggestion that I hope can maybe reflect the views of the room and maybe the concerns of the Secretariat as well. And we would just suggest that we write, instead of as one paragraph, I would say instead of I, J, and K, to write, consider the possibility of discussing the working methods on the number of files, including geographical distribution, bearing in mind the discussions at the first part of the working group, or something along those lines. We would be very flexible here, but this is would be our suggestion to maybe move us towards a consensus. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Colombia, to be followed by Poland. Colombia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We were going to suggest actually a language also, but more on the chapeau, in the sense of other issues discussed during the meeting to be bear in mind, or something like that. Also considering that, as many other colleagues said, this wasn't proposed by the experts, which is kind of what we are working on. But then again, I think that Sweden expressed it quite well also. But the idea will be that to be clear, that these ideas is also some concerns from the state parties that we would like to consider in a further notice, maybe in another occasion or not necessarily in September, as the secretary said, because of time. So I will agree with Sweden, and maybe somebody of English speaking can have a better chapeau for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Poland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just taking into account how important is this discussion and the really lack of time that we are experiencing, not only today, but also in terms of the holidays. And we are all human beings, and the Secretariat is too composed of human beings. I'm just wondering whether we can move the part 2 of the meeting to the end of September in order to allow everyone coming back after holiday time to precisely prepare some more information that might be used in the meeting of state parties. Otherwise, we will meet again right after holidays without new information, and maybe without the possibility to reconsider them in a proper way. But I'm not aware how the schedule works. Maybe it is impossible. Just wanted to give such a suggestion. That might be helpful for us all to have more time to prepare for the second meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I very much do give the floor to more delegations, but I was told this is the end of our discussion. Let me make the final proposal, and then if this does not work, I think I have to put everything in brackets. Sorry for that. Now, take the Swedish suggestion for J. Sweden is saying, considering the possibility of discussing the working methods on the number of files, including geographical distribution. That want to replace what China proposed earlier. We know what China proposed earlier, 2 files every 3 years. But we don't need to be too specific on that. Can we take Swedish proposal for 2 files per 3 years, China proposal? Okay, let me see. If there is any hand, can I just assume that this is opposition to that? So I give the floor to China, just to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. I don't mean to prolong this process, but I just want to make some clarifications on our proposal. Since just as the explained by the Secretary and as well as yourself, this is just a possibility for to lay the basis for our discussion at the next part of the meeting. So, and nothing is set and nothing is proposed very specifically, just give some ideas and to be reflected and to be duly recorded at this meeting. So I would like to respond to the concern of the proposed by the ambassador of Cuba. She raised the concern about the multinational files, which is exactly also our concern. But we are now, for the time being, we just don't need to get into these details because we need more reflections and to discuss more details on the working methods of the evaluation and examination. So we just put these proposals here to reflect very duly the ideas of the different participants of this working group, both like Kuwait and China. So we would like to keep this some ideas here, but not too general. Otherwise, we will not put it here under the title of the number of files per cycle. That is some of our clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then in that case, because there's no agreement, this is a very final suggestion that I'm going to make. After the number of files per cycle, we have a sentence, something like the following items of following new ideas proposed by the states will be discussed further in the process ahead. It's something like that. that is my final try. And if we don't, because we have to end the meeting. In the process ahead. Yeah, and everything will be as they are. You know, suggestion from China and also suggestion from Kuwait. Everything will be in bracket. I think we have to end our discussions now. So I'm sorry for that, but we have to end our discussions. So let me appeal that this part will be for further elaboration, but for the time being, we have to make sure that following proposals will be discussed in the process ahead. I hope this will meet the room, otherwise I have to end without any conclusion on that part. Sweden, are you opposed to this?
No, sorry, Chair. We would just like to, there was a misunderstanding. So as it stands, it would be more useful to strike out our amendment or the I para, because R was meant to replace I, J, and K.
Yes.
So if
yes,
with
indeed.
this shuffle, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now we have to conclude our. Do I have to read everything? Okay. Okay, well, we are at the very end of the discussion. Thank you very much for your very constructive participation. We are 90% done, 99% done. But finally, I would like to give the floor to the Secretary General of the National Commission of Sri Lanka for his final remarks. The Secretary General, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Dear Mr. President,
yes, please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, dear Secretary, Mr. Tim Curtis, permanent delegates of state parties and parties from all over the world, very good evening to all of you all from Sri Lanka. It was a wonderful experience for me during these 2 days. It is indeed a pleasure to convey the closing remarks as the chairperson of the 16th session of the Intergovernmental Committee of the ICH. At this part 1 of open-ended Intergovernmental Working Group for the Listening Mechanism. Please allow me to convey my sincere thanks and heartfelt gratitude to all the delegations from various regions of the world for their active participation, bringing their expertise and experience by engaging in such fruitful, constructive, and open dialogue throughout the 2 days of this part 1 of the working group. Now, I would like to give my special thanks to Mr. President for his excellent management during these 2 days. And also to the Secretary, Mr. Tim Curtis, for his able leadership, guidance, and great support. Also, I take this opportunity to thank all the members of the Secretariat for their hard work and dedication for the successful completion of the 2-day session. And looking forward to the continuation of the next session in September and the 16th session of the Intergovernmental Committee to be held in December in Sri Lanka with possible concrete proposals. We are reaching towards the end of the 2-day session of part 1 now. Finally, I'm eagerly waiting to welcome all of you all in Sri Lanka, the most beautiful island in the Indian Ocean. My dear friends, stay safe, good night, and goodbye to all of you all. Ayubowan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General. We look forward to meeting you in your beautiful island country of Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to express my heartfelt appreciations to all the interpreters. Sorry for the extension, but thank you very much. And also the appreciation goes to the team of the Secretariat who have helped us a lot. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to conclude this working group. I think we have had a reasonable success this time, so I would like to conduct more fruitful discussions in September again. Let's see you, let's meet there for the working group session. Thank you very much once again, and this working group has been concluded. Thank you.
Goodbye, Chair.
Yeah, goodbye, Ambassador Adam. Thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, and bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Bye, all. Keep safe.